At 3:47 p.m., I missed the first call. The second came at 3:52. By the third, my heart was pounding. I was in the middle of an important client meeting in Chicago when my daughter Emma's number kept appearing on my phone. Something felt wrong. I excused myself and stepped into the hallway, my hands shaking as I called back. But it wasn't Emma who answered, it was my mother. Her voice was weak, almost broken. "Olivia," she said, "something happened while you were away." My sister Lisa had been watching Emma while I was on this business trip. It was supposed to be simple. Emma would stay with my parents and Lisa would help out. We'd done this many times before. "What happened?" I asked, my mind racing. My mother hesitated before explaining. Lisa and Emma had argued. Lisa claimed Emma was being disrespectful. And then something I could barely believe. Lisa had kicked my 12-year-old daughter out of the house. "Kicked out?" I repeated, stunned. Lisa had driven Emma to a community center, dropped her off, and told her to call me. Emma was left alone, scared, with nowhere to go. "Where is she now?" I demanded. "A social worker found her," my mother said. "She's safe, but Lisa says." I cut her off. "Put Emma on the phone." When Emma spoke, her voice was quiet but steady. "I didn't do anything wrong, Mom," she said. "Lisa got mad because I didn't want to help her clean her closet. She called me lazy and disrespectful." That didn't make sense. Emma was always responsible, always helpful. Something wasn't right. I needed to get home. Now. Without hesitation, I canceled the rest of my meetings. My boss didn't argue. He could tell this was serious. The flight home felt endless. Every second, I imagined my daughter alone and afraid. Lisa and I had never been close, but this was beyond anything I expected. Lisa had always been jealous, never outright, but in small ways. She resented my career, my independence, and most of all, my close bond with Emma. She had struggled in life while I had built stability for myself and my daughter. But abandoning a child, that was something I couldn't forgive. When I landed, I called the social worker, Margaret. Her voice was calm. "Emma is okay," she said. "She's strong, but she's hurt. She doesn't understand why her aunt did this." But I did. Lisa had always made little comments about my parenting, saying I was too soft. But this wasn't just words. This was cruelty. When I arrived at my parents' house, I saw Emma sitting quietly in the living room. She looked so small. I turned to my mother. "Tell me everything," I said firmly. As Emma started to talk, I realized this wasn't just about one argument. This was about family, boundaries, and what I refused to allow. Lisa had made a terrible mistake, and she was about to find out exactly what that meant. The living room felt charged with unspoken tension as Emma recounted her version of events. Her voice was steady, but I could see the hurt behind her eyes, the same look she'd get when someone had disappointed her deeply. "Aunt Lisa came over early that morning," Emma began. "She was reorganizing the closet in the guest room and asked me to help. I was doing my homework, but I told her I'd help after I finished my math assignment." My mother shifted uncomfortably in her chair. I could tell she was struggling with the guilt of having allowed this to happen. "She got angry," Emma continued. "Said I was lazy and disrespectful. But I wasn't. I always help when someone asks me. She started saying mean things about how I'm spoiled, how I never do anything for anyone." The more Emma spoke, the clearer the picture became. This wasn't about a closet or chores. This was about Lisa's long-standing resentment toward me now being projected onto my daughter. "She told me to leave," Emma said quietly. "Said if I wasn't going to help, I wasn't welcome in the house." My mind was already 3 steps ahead. This wasn't just a moment of frustration. This was calculated emotional manipulation. I pulled out my phone and started recording our conversation. Emma looked at me, a question in her eyes. "Just in case," I whispered. Later that evening, after Emma was asleep, I made a series of calls. The first was to a family law attorney. The second was to my company's HR department. The third was to my sister's employer. Lisa worked as a middle management supervisor at a local marketing firm. She'd always been jealous of my career, constantly comparing herself to me. Now that comparison would cost her. The next morning, Lisa arrived at my parents' house, clearly expecting to explain herself. What she didn't expect was me waiting for her. "We need to talk," I said, my voice calm but razor sharp. Her confident swagger faltered. "About what?" About you abandoning a 12-year-old child. About your behavior. About the fact that what you did is considered child endangerment. Lisa laughed, but it was a nervous sound. You're overreacting. Emma was fine, the social worker. The social worker who found a minor alone and scared. The one who filed an official report. I watched the color drain from her face. I had documentation, statements from Emma, the social worker's report, text messages Lisa had sent revealing her pattern of behavior. I've been gathering evidence, building a case. I've spoken with your employer, I continued. They take a very dim view of employees who engage in child endangerment, especially those in management positions. Lisa's bravado crumbled. You wouldn't. Watch me. The next few weeks were a strategic dismantling of Lisa's life. Not out of vengeance, but out of a clear message. Actions have consequences. Her employer launched an internal investigation. The family law attorney advised me on potential legal actions. I wasn't just protecting Emma. I was creating a barrier that would prevent Lisa from ever putting my daughter in danger again. What Lisa didn't understand was that this wasn't about punishment. This was about establishing boundaries, about showing Emma that she was valued, protected, and never to be treated as disposable. Emma was resilient. She threw herself into her studies, into her art, into our relationship. But I could see the impact of Lisa's actions. The slight hesitation when family gatherings were mentioned. The way she'd sometimes look uncertain when adults were discussing something. My parents were caught in the middle. They loved both their daughters, but they couldn't ignore the severity of Lisa's actions. She needs help, my mother said during one of our conversations. Professional help. I agreed, but help couldn't come at the expense of Emma's safety or emotional well-being. The turning point came unexpectedly. A letter from Lisa's therapist, recommended by her employer as part of her mandatory counseling after the investigation. I recognize now the pattern of behavior I've exhibited. The letter read, summarizing Lisa's therapeutic insights. My jealousy toward my sister, my resentment of her success, my inability to process my own failures, these were projected onto her child. It wasn't an apology. Not yet. But it was acknowledgement, a first step. Emma read the letter with me. Her response was simple but profound. People can change, right, Mom? She asked. Sometimes, I said, but change requires genuine effort and accountability. As we sat together, I realized this wasn't just about protecting Emma from Lisa. This was about teaching Emma how to set healthy boundaries, how to stand up for herself, how to love someone while also holding them accountable. The journey was far from over, but we were taking it together. To be continued. Would you like me to elaborate on any part of this segment? I focus on the aftermath of the betrayal, the strategic response, and the emotional journey of both mother and daughter. 6 months after the incident, our lives had settled into a new rhythm. Emma had joined a youth leadership program, her confidence growing with each passing week. The experience of standing up to her aunt had transformed her in ways I hadn't anticipated. One Saturday morning, an unexpected invitation arrived. A letter from Lisa requesting a meeting at a local coffee shop. Emma discovered it first, bringing it to me with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Do you want to go? I asked her, giving her complete control of the decision. She thought for a moment. Yes, Emma said finally. I want to hear what she has to say. The coffee shop was neutral ground. I watched carefully as Lisa approached our table, her usual bravado replaced by a nervous energy. She looked smaller somehow, less intimidating. Hi, she said quietly, her eyes first meeting Emma's, then mine. Emma spoke first, a trait she'd inherited from me. Direct, unafraid. Why did you do what you did? Lisa's hands trembled around her coffee cup. I was jealous, she admitted, of your mom's success, of how close you two are. I felt like I was always falling short. The raw honesty was unexpected. Emma listened, her face a careful mask of neutrality. Jealousy isn't an excuse for hurting a child, Emma said. The words were mine, but spoken in her voice. I watched the conversation unfold, ready to intervene but allowing Emma her moment. This was her healing, her confrontation. Lisa's therapy had clearly made an impact. She didn't argue, didn't make excuses. She listened. I'm trying to be better, Lisa said finally, not just for you, but for myself. Emma looked at me, a silent conversation passing between us. I saw the moment she made her decision. "I accept your apology," she said, "but trust takes time." The weeks following that meeting were transformative. Lisa began making genuine efforts, small gestures, birthday cards, occasional texts checking on Emma's school projects. No grand declarations, just consistent, quiet attempts to rebuild. My parents watched carefully. They'd been torn during the initial conflict, now cautiously hopeful. At Emma's year-end school presentation, an unexpected guest arrived. Lisa, sitting quietly in the back, watching with pride. Emma noticed her, paused mid-presentation, then continued, a small smile playing on her lips. Later, she told me, "I want her to be part of my life, but on my terms." The legal consequences for Lisa were significant but not destructive. A formal warning from her company, mandatory counseling, and a clear understanding that such behavior would never be tolerated again. What started as a moment of betrayal had become a lesson in accountability, healing, and the complex nature of family relationships. Emma's resilience amazed me. She didn't just survive the experience, she grew from it. The youth leadership program recognized her for a special award, celebrating her courage and emotional intelligence. "Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is set a boundary," her program director told her during the ceremony. As I watched my daughter accept her award, I realized we had transformed a moment of potential trauma into a powerful story of growth. Lisa wasn't completely forgiven, but she was given a chance, a carefully monitored, conditional chance to be part of our lives. Family isn't about perfect relationships, I told Emma later that evening. It's about respect, accountability, and the willingness to grow. She hugged me tight. "We did this together," she whispered. And we had. The journey wasn't over, but we had found our way forward, together, stronger, unbroken. Would you like me to elaborate on any part of this final segment? I focused on resolution, healing, and the complex path to rebuilding trust within a family.